God, you give us grace to accept with serenity the things that cannot be changed, courage to change the things which should be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish the one from the other. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, may you guide us as we serve our community. Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call?
Spurling,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Wheeler,
Yes.
Levens,
Yes.
Beck,
Yes.
Whittick.
Yes.
Previous minutes. Everyone have a chance to review those.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the previous minutes as written.
Any questions, clarifications? Nope. Roll call?
Fox,
Yes.
Wheeler,
Yes.
Levens,
Yes.
Beck,
Yes.
Whittick,
Yes.
Spurling.
Yes.
Finance report.
I entertain a motion to accept the finance report.
Second. Is there anything you would like to address or speak about?
Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of give you a summary here on how we did this from council meeting to council meeting. We actually, for the payment report, we spent $73,612.37 and brought in sorry here, I should have put my stuff in order. We brought in $111,081.99.
I was gonna say, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
No, we had a good month, the property tax some that come in, so the first half of property
Okay.
tax came in, so that's a real big plus. And we actually finished, $259 ahead in taxes of this time last year. So not a lot, but
Okay.
it's a little.
It's the right direction.
Every drop in the bucket.
There's some, but not at all.
What was the total?
Above what we spent out, well, 111 minus 73.
And where's that put us for the year?
4,000.
Yeah.
A year compared to last year or this year, you know?
For this year.
For this year, we'd be up 46, because we were 6,000 last time.
Okay. It's a little brighter.
Mhm.
All right. Any questions with that information?
Sorry, I missed the second one.
Okay.
Although I know it's.
Roll call.
Wheeler,
Yes.
Levens,
Yes.
Beck,
Yes.
Whittick,
Yes.
Spurling.
Yes.
Communications. Anyone receiving?
Quick, verbal communication from a couple of EMTs. They're very appreciative of the move up front here. Just wanted to pass that on to us. They really appreciate the council taking that effort, especially like I said, 3 o'clock in the morning when they have to use the restroom. Very convenient.
Okay, good, glad to hear that. Anything else? Any others? Okay. This is going very well. This is nice. Citizens, do you want to stay for the whole meeting, dear? Okay. Committee reports. Judiciary Committee as of 3/3/15.
Okay, we met on, March 3rd, 15, at 5:30. Present was Mayor Dan Hughes. Committee members was Robert Sperling, Rex Blevins, Mike Fox, and Joey Beck. Others were Fiscal Officer Beth Rediger, Village Administrator Gary St. John, and Councilman Rick Whittick. Mayor Hughes opened the meeting. The purpose of the meeting is to consider responses from the citizens in regards to 3 options given to increase the general fund revenue. The committee reviewed the response review, noting that no one is in favor of increased taxes, but calmly do seem to understand that specific revenue line items support what expenses come entirely from the general fund. With the critical issue being the general fund, Emily supports the total police department budget. Councilman Whittick said he had spoken to several residents and they were definitely against the increase in license plate taxes. He also received several different opinions regarding the sale of the village-owned property. He said personally, he is not in favor of the village selling the land, and it is limiting the future growth. He feels other options should be taken first, such as cutbacks in police department spending. Village Administrator St. John questioned the need of the police training that was brought forth at the last council meeting. Mayor Hughes said he feels the village does not have an obligation and liability to provide officers with adequate training.
That's a does have.
Does have, excuse me.
Thank you, Mayor.
The training Chief Slusher brought for council approved was close by, responsibly priced within the approved budget. Councilman Whittick suggested putting the 0.3% income tax on the ballot to see how the residents of Stryker really feel. Councilman Sperling said this is not a bad idea, as a ballot pass would inform council rather than a committee wants 24-hour police coverage or not. And basically the committee would determine the amount of coverage as well as what they are willing to fund. Councilman Joey Beck asked for the committee consensus on the recommendations that are making to council. Committee consensus is to recommend the village council indicates putting a 0.3% income tax on the November ballot for the purpose of providing 24-hour police coverage and public safety entities. The committee also asked Fiscal Officer Beth Rediger to prepare a statement explaining the need for the extra tax revenue due to the state and local revenue reductions, increase in the general fund, and deputies. Councilman Beck also asked the village property be listed with Waco to attract industrial use. And also the committee agreed to pursue a license tax increase at this time, not to pursue a license tax increase at this time.
Okay, I think that definitely is a summary of, what folks presented to us individually, and totally not real thrilled about tax increases, but it does give us a way of putting it back in their hands. If they feel it's a worthwhile commitment, then hopefully they will pass that. And if they don't, then we know we've got to go back to the drawing board and come up with some new ideas.
How are we gonna know that? How are we gonna know they're voting for or against just the tax, or that it goes for the plus?
Well, I
don't
guess,
think there's a way to know.
I think the consensus of the group that we had was a vote for the 0.3 increase, basically stated, yes, the 24-hour coverage is important, and they are willing to fund that, and a vote against it means that, yeah, it may be important, but we're not willing to put the monies out to fund it.
Anybody I spoke to was only seeing it as a tax.
Yeah.
I think
So
if
they're
it's-
gonna vote no tax.
If it's presented, if we do a reasonably good job of presenting it and educating the public that the general fund is the fund that's hurting. The general fund has no other source of income. It needs a source of income. And fully funds the public safety aspect. Water and sewer is in great shape. The capital accounts are in good shape. The street fund is okay, but unfortunately the general fund's not. I think from the comments we reviewed at the committee meeting, we could see that not everybody understood that. Some of the comments that were made would not have impacted the general fund at all.
Right. No, I agree with that.
A lump sum assessment of where the money goes.
We also agree not to hide anything. Right in front of everything.
And I think one of the things, and Terry brings up the same point that I brought up, we don't know if a no vote is against the police, 24-hour coverage, rather than, because quite honestly, I don't want to pay more taxes, I don't think anyone does, but I need to pay my fair share as well.
If it's presented in the public forum that, should we find ourselves backed in a corner, should this fail and we run out of other alternate sources, that's the ultimate outcome of this, is that we will lose our 24/7.
See, and I look at it,
Well, yeah, I mean, there you go.
I mean, but I don't think people are going to, I'm being devil's advocate, I agree, but I'm just saying, yeah, I do that great, don't I? I just think, I don't care how much we tell them, because I've told people in this town before too, I don't care how much you preach to them, this is a tax to help the police department, they're gonna say, it's a tax. Period, that's as far as I see it.
it is a tax.
And it is a tax, and I don't wanna pay more tax, so I'm voting no. Now, they're gonna say, what have you all done to try to offset something? Have you asked for early retirements? Have you laid people off? Have you done
We've
something?
been through that, and the only wages that substantially come from the general fund is law enforcement.
I know, I understand that.
Okay,
but
you're playing devil's advocate.
I'm saying,
Okay.
I'm telling you what the townspeople, what I hear, and what they're gonna say is, we don't want any, and I could say all the words, but we don't want any tax. Even though they know to help the police department, we don't want any. I'm just saying.
See, and I think we answer it, I mean, we're starting off in the hole right off the bat. The committee reviewed the responses received, noting that no one is in favor of increased taxes. So no one's in favor. So we're already in the hole.
We had 5 responses.
Well, I know, that's not.
If you carefully reviewed
That's
those
not-
responses, if you reviewed those, it's just not.
Well, that we had documented.
Yes.
Right.
See,
And if you go a bit further and read those comments, you would see that they didn't understand the general fund, the mechanism that's.
I agree.
They grouped everybody together.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't dispute that, I'm just.
I look at it like this, if people talk to me, I'm basically going to say, our general fund is what supports the entirety of the police department budget. And I would like to see the programs and the coverage that we currently have remain. So yes, it means a few more dollars out of my pocket, but I'm going to vote for it because I think it's that important. And then they've got to decide, in my eyes, whether they feel it's important or not. And if,
To me, I would say you have land that has not been even wanted for 20 years.
yeah,
Sell it, help me first. Then if you need to put a tax on it,
That's
put
a
your tax
Band-Aid.
on
If we felt that would solve the problem, but it's a Band-Aid, the problem still
I
exists. Those dollars will be depleted, that's not the mechanism that's gonna.
it. But it would show that we've done something first, is what I'm saying.
What's going to fix it?
Revenue.
Okay, so what are
Revenue's
ways to
gonna
get
go.
revenue?
Way to get revenue, we increase jobs or raise the taxes,
Okay.
fund that.
Mhm.
There you go.
absolutely,
Yeah.
for a village, those are your
That's
two
true.
choices.
Now you yourself said, let's list that property on White Coast, see if we get activity. Great, let's do it.
Absolutely, I think if we're not gonna sell it, we need to put it out there instead of letting it sit there and get rained on.
And that's why the recommendations.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, we need to do something with that
We
property.
agree that's it's something that's, if we have to do it, it's very quick as far as raising that capital.
Yes.
Correct.
Should the levy fail in November, should we become desperate? should
Sold
we
at the
become
right
verge
time,
of
it's quick.
Receivership.
If
We
we
can
sell in
bail
July,
on
it's
that
not-
property in probably 6 to 8 weeks, I would guess. But it's a Band-Aid, it's just a temporary fix, that those dollars will be depleted, it will not solve
So,
anything.
so let me ask you this. In general, do you have a personal savings account for those times of a Band-Aid? Something's needed. I think we all have that or want that.
Yes, but we don't need to spend that personal savings account at this point in time. We're not desperate yet. After November, we'll decide how desperate we are. We don't need to cash out right now.
Didn't someone say it was for a year or something?
Quite a few out.
Yeah,
think we were quite a few
I think we're
years out.
solvent theoretically for
That, how long are
many,
we good
how,
for?
yeah.
How far out?
How far out?
If we
In
carefully
the
control
general
our
fund,
spending.
Yeah.
a couple years,
Couple
Yeah, we got
years.
2 years?
yeah.
Okay. We don't need to sell the property immediately. It's not,
I
the
just,
best case scenario perhaps would be,
I just think it shows the public better. That's why.
Here's what we can do as a village council. to help
We've
that
attempted
general fund.
better than
To help that
most
page.
councils. That's my, from what I hear people.
And
And
I
I've
think
had
we
lots
discussed
of
that.
people say, why do we have this?
I think we discussed that quite a bit at the meeting, and my understanding of the consensus was that that's a definite option that we have that remains on the table, but it's not necessarily what we want to do first, because once it's sold, it's gone. To where I think they decided, let's see what happens here, and if that goes down, then we need to revisit, and, you know, maybe that sale of the ground moves to the front of the page instead of at the third spot.
Terry,
Not
Joey
your
ran a
job.
caveat with that. Excuse me. Has it ever been listed with Whiteville? And no. The past councils have wished not to strictly go with residential, to go with the aging stuff. At the meeting, I brought in 6 different events, if you will, trying to follow the council's wishes, but it was all in residential. It was never to bring jobs in, which was what we really do need.
Hmm.
And so, you know, I think Joey had a valid, and that was, I told Joey if, and the council, the board that was there, if the council directs me to list it, it can be listed almost immediately as shovel-ready ground, you know, for jobs, which is a permanent fix, which is a little different than any other, it is
Right.
absolutely different than any other council has done today.
The initial dream was to have residential or commercial property, but now we
Right.
have to revisit that and
Yeah.
say, let's put that out there. Give that a chance.
And I think if we promote it in the right way, without trying to cover it up, as Mr. Whittick said, as to why we're doing what we're doing. They may not accept it, but at least they have a voice in it, and that vote would be that voice. You know, it's one of those where I think we've got multiple options that we can take, and they decided, hey, let's look at this first and see how that goes, and then if that goes down in flames, we need to revisit and go in a different direction.
See, here's another way to look. You know, we're saying if we put this tax out there and they vote no, that you're voting against the police, as far as 24-hour coverage. Not against the police department, but 24-hour coverage.
Right.
We can look at it as it's more of a tax and they don't want that, or we can look at it as them coming through and saying, you have property here, sell it first.
Absolutely.
So we haven't even looked at that possibility.
but then we postpone another tax initiative for 2 or 3 years. And we're back in the same boat.
Could be. But economy,
Nothing has changed.
but economy is turning. I mean, it's been going downhill for many years, and it is starting to swing a little bit, so maybe. But I think
Put
we
it
need,
out there.
I think we need to be proactive with it.
So I see the point in doing nothing though until after November and seeing, let the people speak.
I think if we would go through and say if it doesn't pass, then here's what we're going to do. We need to get rid of it. That's what I would do.
That's one of the options on the table. At that point in time, we have to cut, we either bolster the general fund or we cut expenses to where we're not draining. So at that point in time, either law enforcement suffers or we sell the self property. cropping up for a couple of years and without it. I'm not necessarily in favor of a Band-Aid. I'd rather fix the problem.
Then we need industrial.
Well, yeah.
By listing that property with Wedco, I think, just me thinking out loud, the opportunity to sell it to a manufacturing type business that may want to put something in there that will bring in jobs and give us continual revenue versus selling it one time and this is it. You get $300,000, you're done. And as Bob had mentioned, once that's gone, it's gone.
Oh, absolutely.
Ideally, that'd be good,
Yeah.
If we were to sell it and it fell into the hands of a farmer, which is fine, it's farmland, but maybe it would not be available if somebody came to town and wanted to put up an industrial site. Maybe it wouldn't be available anyways. So, you're the one that raised that
Oh, absolutely.
suggestion, and it was a great suggestion. And 10 years ago, I would have refused to agree with that, because at that point in time, we wanted residential, commercial, we were hoping for senior-oriented, and the theory was rooftops bring storefronts. That hasn't come to pass. The economy took a downturn, et cetera, et cetera. But with that being said, for me, nothing's off the table. To me, that's an example of that. I'm willing to say, let's list it with Wedco, and if it turns out to be industrial, oh well, that's good for the village.
Oh, absolutely,
Oh,
industrial.
yes, I agree. We need industrial.
And there's also options, if it were to sell to industrial, where you can put in, requests of, hey, obviously that's the entry of our village, could we do something landscape nice-wise to make it not look so industrial?
But we also gotta make it lucrative for them to come.
Oh, absolutely.
Here's some property, what are we gonna do?
Yes,
Well, it
I agree a hundred
We're
There
percent.
gonna
should be
charge
an
you for
enterprise
this, we're
zone.
gonna charge you for that, we're gonna charge you for this, that needs to be get in here.
Gary talked about before, there's access, as far as utilities or any place or.
Tied into.
Yeah, it's flat, it's, they have the power, they've got the drainage, depending on what they would put in. It's pretty much shovel ready in that respect. I think one part that, the component is, it's never been tried before. And I did speak with Matt just briefly, not knowing if you wanted me to do it or not, but just, truthfully, I wanted to make sure he was on board with the listing of it, because, he has a lot of knowledge. And on so many levels, as you know, Dan, you saw his credentials. But the actual putting in the program, that was more of Diamond's type of thing. And he was like, hey, let me know what council says tonight and I'll get right on it. We'll get it listed. I just sent him all the data, what's there for drainage and water and what our capacities, and we do the whole bit and list this. And this goes nationwide, when they're looking for a parcel of ground or something. And we talked about the Schumann building, that, there's extreme interest in that, and so let's see what happens. And that Dalton is hiring and the Souders is hiring, so we may be on an upsweep here. So I never ever considered Joey's proposal, because it was the council's mindset that was to be, the opening coming into town. But like Dan said, you can make, a proposal and say, hey, we like it, but would you do this to it, to make it look
So
presentable?
are we gonna propose all 36 acres, or?
I think that would depend on what someone would need. I think
keep the other 6 for.
I think that would be a nice,
Well, what we had discussed for a sale would be to snap a line
yeah.
Right.
and have a rectangle and then reserve that small number of acres.
Gives you some options for additional residential.
6, something like that. Almost.
Didn't we talk about if children's turned into something or stays or something else, that 0.3% could be rescinded
Absolutely, yeah,
down, for future?
yeah. Yes, chief?
Hey, gentlemen, I'm sure everybody has probably crunched numbers by now. Okay, so let's just say we take away 16 hours, 4 hours a day. 16 hours a week, all right? My guys make an average of about roughly $12 per hour. It's $10,000 a year that you're gonna be saving by taking away 24-hour coverage. Now, there's OPERS and things like that. What is it, maybe 50%?
Opers,
Yeah.
the village pays 14%.
Okay, 14%. So you're looking at about roughly $12,000, maybe. Okay, so it's really worth it to take away 24-hour coverage for $12,000 to $13,000 on the high end.
See it?
No, but we have to pay for it, that's.
I understand that.
See, and I look at it this way, chief, we're looking at, we're 12, let's bump it up to, say it's a $20,000 savings. Just throwing a number out there. This 0.3 would represent how much in income?
100,000.
So we're squabbling from his rough figures, $12,000 to $20,000, but yet we're gonna ask for 100. Ouch. As a taxpayer, me going to the ballot, I'm saying ouch.
Ouch, but these things are always painful, they're never enjoyable, and should we not try to do something that will have longevity to it?
So here would be my question.
But what do you think? half
As
that?
Joe Plummer,
Okay.
here's my question. What are you doing with the $80,000? What are you doing with the rest of it?
And that rainy day fund, if we can build a rainy day fund in the general fund, then we want to have a discussion down the road.
Well, and the budget in the police is what, 225,000? So,
220,000.
yeah, 220,000. So with that coverage comes training and uniforms and vehicles and so on and so forth. So not so much on the vehicles, but the
But
components
the
in it,
training,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, so there's
And
more.
Vehicles and uniform have been there for the duration. I have lost nearly 75% of my available budget for training, for ammo that's used for training, for every piece of gear that I could buy. I've lost nearly 75% of my budget, and that is no joke.
And are we able to hopefully keep up with?
Gentlemen, I haven't even bought a doggone scale. I've been asking for a scale for 2 years, and I haven't bought one because we don't have the money. A scale to measure drugs. A $100 scale. I haven't even bought it because I'm so conscious of spending money. The only money that I've spent last year was on vehicles, and we went to training one time,
Which isn't enough.
which is absolutely enough. If you're going to depend on somebody else's statement that we should not be allowed to go to this training, why don't you look to the two gentlemen that actually have ran a police department and know what they're talking about? That's all I'm going to say, Jen. Thank you.
But as long as you spoke. Since we've seen these cutbacks, it's been unfortunate that you've had to put up with less and less and less dollars. What was always in my forefront of concern with the department was, are you keeping up with your vest? Has everybody got vests that are?
Absolutely not. We've had expired vests for over a year.
Okay. So we're failing you,
We've had,
basically.
right. We are. We have.
Aren't the best chief in the budget for this year? They've already been allocated? That's
They
what I-
very well could be, but if it's coming out of the funding that was already allotted to me, it's not there.
No, we're taking it out of capital insurance.
Yeah, that's funded, so your
I
vests
think
are
if we can
funded.
go through, and I still say there's $80,000.
Well, you're saying we need to
I'd like to
defend that
respond to
dollar.
that.
We need to
Everyone's
defend it.
entitled to know where those,
And
like
say,
you said, we have to be
this
fair.
full 100,000, this is exactly where it's going for, and only that.
Right.
But the thing I don't want with that, if it's 100,000, and you said the budget's what, 220? 200? Okay, so since
So
that's
we're not even
220, we're gonna throw
50%.
another 100 in there, but we're gonna decrease your other one by 60. I don't want what he already has and is working with to decrease.
No.
I want this
no.
on
It's
top
already
of it
shortchanged.
and left alone.
Yeah.
He's made cuts.
We've
and
shortchanged
been able
him
to buy
for
things in
how
the
many
past
years
that we can
Well, I know at
go
least
through
4.
that.
Right.
Well,
Quite honestly.
I'd like to see it written as, the so-called sidewalk fund, that was, the pedestrian safety fund. I'd like to see this as public safety fund. You know, perhaps there's law enforcement and maybe there'd be a need for some other stuff that could branch.
I think it all needs to go right to what we're here for.
Safety
for
and
that.
police.
Yeah, public safety and police.
Police.
Public safety can,
Encompass
I can't envision things, but there's no sense in tying our hands,
Right.
like we did with the water plant dollars. Once we had enough money to build a water plant, there was no point in continuing to collect it, because the way that was written was that was the only thing it could be used for, and then it was pointless.
This is our opinion.
Right. See, I just think that we have to go through, because it's going to show in excess of 80, whatever it is. So what are you doing with that?
Well, we're
Well,
gonna play
yeah,
catch up.
Beth has an answer, I think.
I'm dying to get my answer.
Go for
If
it.
you look at the press release, you know, you're saying we're gonna have an excess, but if you look at it just since 2010, you lost.
We have lost.
You
Absolutely.
lost as a
Yeah, the
fund.
decrease from the state.
Yeah, we lost $70,000.
You know-
It's not on top of the budget, it's.
I will be
making
the
up
first to
lost
say, I would hate that he doesn't have what he feels necessary for the police department. The problem is you were cut
Yes.
Oh,
over
absolutely.
80,000 in the general fund. So
And those
you
were
have
dollars
to
that
decide,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already gone.
you have to
Right,
decide
right.
what
But
can,
they-
what can you
Correct.
cut? What can you cut? You only bring in
But they were doing a great job of
360,000,
balancing the budget.
it takes 220 to run your police department. I don't like, personally, it stated the 24-hour is what you're doing it for. I like it as our general fund is hurting. It's hurting because of these reasons. We need tax money because our general fund has been cut by the state $80,000+.
Right.
It's not, you're looking like, okay, we're gonna get 100,000, what are you gonna do with the other 80 if you're only giving 20? I'm looking at it like,
Right, but you're looking
you're
at
in a
historical.
deficit of the fund of,
Oh, absolutely.
you know,
Yeah,
And
you're
that's
looking
per
at
year,
historical.
that's not,
yeah,
that's not
Correct.
just a one-time thing.
Yeah.
That's
No, no.
what we're not getting each and every year.
yeah.
Correct, correct.
It's not
Yeah, I
that,
fully understand that. But right now, we're managing, because of Steve, he's managing, to the best that he can with that lower amount. So the average person just looking at it saying, well, here's an extra 80,000. I understand that we're less, the state is getting less and less. I fully understand that aspect.
but he's managing because
He
I'm
has no other
taking,
choice.
I'm taking half of, I'm taking 360, and he's managing because I'm allowing 220,000 there.
Right.
Even though we are losing 80,000 a year.
Right.
And that's your answer.
You're
It is.
When the public says, what are
managing,
you doing with that
you're
extra
managing
80?
because
But I think-
we're allowing it to manage.
Yeah, I think we just have to say, this is all going towards public safety.
And that's what it says, police coverage and public safety.
I think you gotta present it like you're doing this because your general fund has been cut.
General
Not-
fund and public safety, not specifying the police. Or they're gonna say, well, what are you buying?
But
the
when they
police?
ask what the general fund goes towards, obviously the police department
Majority.
is the major expense.
Right.
And so I don't think we wanna hide that fact.
No,
No,
we don't
not
hide
really.
anything.
Can't.
No.
Gotta be right up straight with
Yes.
Let the voters decide, and if you put, we have to be the cheerleaders, I guess, for getting this back.
I just hate to get it presented like you're saying that we're asking for 100,000 and we only need 20,000.
Right.
I mean,
Right,
that's,
no.
you know, I mean, and you gotta look at, you're losing 80,000 a year.
Right.
So actually, this 100,000, all that really does is push
You're
us
gaining
back.
20,000
Back to where we were
that in a
4
year,
years
in a
ago.
year or two is gonna be cut again and you're just gonna be breaking even.
It put us back to what, 4 years ago, or 5?
Maybe a little longer.
We've been cut, the last big cut, I think, was 2 or 3 years ago, 14% in the local government, but you've been cut every year since
A little bit.
2010.
Yeah, they've been nickel and diming
Every
municipal
year,
government.
they
Yeah.
phased out, first was tangible tax, and you know, cat tax was supposed to replace it. Well, then they decided the cat tax would stay at the state level, and nothing came down.
Yeah.
Then it was, local government fund, and then the last thing to be cut was the utility loss reimbursement. So,
So
that
realistically.
was cut over time, but that's now gone too.
Every community in the state is facing the same situation we're
Oh,
facing.
and they're all fighting with the schools too. I mean, you can't put millage on because you're already at your limit on inside millage. If you did that,
Right.
you'd have to be on the ballot also. You can't just
Can't just do it.
put it on because you're also competing with township and school and, everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah. So the state and feds keep the money they used to give to us. and-
They want you to survive solely on income tax and millage.
Yeah.
No money from, that's what they're going towards. And if you can't do it, consolidate.
In 2011, we had 530 people that lived in Stryker that worked, and only 25 of them worked in Stryker. 4.3%. That's the problem. You know, we do need jobs.
Yeah, that's it, yeah, you need
That is
jobs.
absolutely
Absolutely.
the problem. When it comes to general, now Terry, you, I'm sure recall, and some of you other folks that were involved in that 0.5% tax. Do you remember that there was a man named Ray Hurd? He was an accountant. He sent out a petition and he got a big bunch of signatures and it was put on the ballot to remove that 0.5%. And I, like you heard, oh, that, no taxes, you know, and I even mentioned if you would go around and ask any resident of the village, hey, you wanna take this tax off, they would. And to my amazement, at that time at least, the village was just overwhelmingly reinstated that tax after all that he's done. And I was very proud of the Stryker residents for doing that, you know, because that's how we were paying our bill, for the wastewater plant.
Right.
And that was a 0.5%, not a 0.3, so.
It falls on our shoulders to present it to the public and give them the information and explain why. They do it fast. I don't like paying taxes either, but I like knowing we have coverage through the night.
Yeah.
And I like knowing that our officers have the equipment, especially the safety equipment they need and deserve, so.
I agree, 100%.
It's worth
But
it.
I think it's gonna feel like a slap in the face to them. I really do. And I think the first thing they're gonna say is sell that ground. And that's gonna be what we're gonna run up against in order to get this passed. If that ground was sold, I think they'd say, well, let me consider this tax as well. And I just think that's what you're gonna run up against. That's the only glitch I have. I understand the tax, I understand the general fund, I understand, and God knows I want the police protection 24 hours, 7 days a week. And I want safety in this town. We're getting worse on crime in every small town and everything, and the drugs and everything. And I want this town protected. Back that 100%. But I think that's where we're gonna run a problem passing this tax. We have an entity we don't have to have. And I think that's what everybody's gonna tell you.
I'm hopeful that.
Well, it's gonna be enough, is what I'm saying. I think they're gonna say, you didn't do your due diligence.
You sell it, Terry,
First.
then you lose that asset. It's gone.
I understand that.
3 years from now.
I understand, but we've had it
same
20 years and what's it done?
Well,
I'm
maybe,
just, I,
Maybe it hasn't been presented
You
right.
have
Well,
some lack of due diligence, and
Talked about that.
I feel that by Joey's suggestion of pitting
And
industrial through
maybe-
Wedco,
maybe,
that's some
but-
due diligence that we haven't done in 20 years.
maybe, but we have 3 factories that are sitting here idle too, so let's fill them.
Sometimes people would rather build new, whether it's tax incentives or for
That's true,
particular use than move into an existing.
I'm just giving you my,
So let me
that's
ask,
just where I see it going.
let me ask this. If, as a group, we go through, majority say, put the 3 on, list the property with Wedco, let's say it passes the 3.3, then we have no worries.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Well,
For a little bit.
we're feeling better.
The situation as it exists now would be fine.
However, if it goes down, is these people that sit right here today willing to commit and say, we will list that if that fails?
It would definitely be an option that's on the table. But once again, I'm not big on Band-Aiding, we need a solution, not a Band-Aid.
And in essence, you are selling the property, Terry, too. You've got it up for sale.
If it went
It's
through
just not to
Wedco.
auction.
Yeah.
It's just not the auction, but it is on the, it is on,
Yeah.
you know, like,
A
listed
lot of
with the
people-
realtor.
I agree,
It
a
will
lot
be
of people
listed.
don't understand Waco.
Right,
Well,
well,
the public get the money and then the industry comes up.
You gotta think like, you gotta think like they think. Not like what we know sitting around this table, because we know the ins and outs. And I'm not discrediting any of those people, but they don't, some of those terms, they don't understand.
Well, and I agree with
Nor would I.
what Bob had said, you know, today, if we list that for sale, I would be willing to bet it goes to farming ground, which is fine, that's what it is, and I have no issues with that either. But that doesn't really help us in the long term.
No.
To where now if a citizen walks up to me and says, well, why don't you list it for sale? I can say, we've done that, we've listed it with an economic development firm that is going to publicize it nationally, hopefully to make some long-term benefits. Can't promise it, but hopefully, and that's what our thought process is. If that doesn't work, we do have other options. Maybe we just put it up for sale, period. Or maybe we go this direction or that direction. I think it's how we present it.
You know, I look at it like, I have a property that I own, and if I was getting in a situation, yeah, that isn't the first thing I wanna do to sell it, but I'd sell it tomorrow if I had to, even though it
And I
was a
think that's
Band-Aid.
what we're
We're
saying.
not desperate yet.
Yeah, when we get, hopefully if we get to that point,
Okay, I'm just throwing out that's my opinion.
and we're
Then I think
Yeah.
the last thing.
trying to justify it.
If we're saying we're not desperate, we've already went through, we have our 24-hour coverage. We can't touch that then. If we're not in a desperate mode, we cannot touch that this year.
But I don't think anybody's suggesting to.
I know, but I just wanted to put that out there because if that comes
Desperate,
up.
I think we're saying we're not going to fold.
Yeah,
We're already,
Okay, because I just want to make sure.
We're
that we
in
don't
a
come
desperate
back.
need to view and consider what our best course scenarios are.
Because I don't want to come back in a couple of months and say, Chief Slusher, we need you to cut some hours. I don't want us to do that.
The first of next year, we can see where we stand. If the levy passes, fine. If it doesn't, then obviously we need to regroup and tap Plan B and C. One of those plans being a reduction of staff, one of those plans being sale of some sort of property. Alternate means to raise funds or reduce costs, but it doesn't save or ultimately solve the problem, which has its roots in losing $80,000 of money from the state and feds that used to flow into us.
True.
If anything, maybe folks at the local level should be writing their congressmen and their representatives in Columbus and Washington and saying, do you realize what you're doing to
That's
small
what
town
I
America?
realize, I know.
You know, you're crippling our ability to perform our task that should be done.
I think we reaffirmed a couple of council meetings ago about, the chief had made some cuts and we decided, no, we're gonna keep,
We're not gonna do it.
we're not gonna do that, we're not gonna make those cuts, we're gonna keep the coverage. So I think that shows us as a body, affirming our support for the police department, and what we're willing to do to keep that intact.
Beth, I have a question for you. In this one paragraph, it says it should be noted retired citizens will not be burdened by this action. Are you saying that retired people are not gonna pay that 0.3%?
Not
this
Social
doesn't
Security.
take tax on.
We don't
income
tax retirement. If you are a retired person working,
You're working.
I'm working, so I'll get a tax
It's an
on what
income
I
tax.
make from SARS.
but if you're
I
truly
won't from my
retired,
Social Security.
So
They don't tax your Social Security.
Social Security, pension payments,
Pensions.
annuity withdrawals, that stuff is.
Those aren't taxed.
So those that
it's
are just
unearned, it would be
retired,
unearned income.
They would
Right.
not have
They would not.
Correct.
No, no,
It would just be what you work.
just if you.
If you're working, you're getting.
Earned income.
And I think the older you get, the more you want safety and security.
Yeah.
You know, why would you not vote?
Yeah.
It's not even coming out of your
Why are you
pocket,
looking at
but you're
me?
getting. That's the deal.
The older you get, so he looks at me.
Thing on the
Hey, I'm in the same boat.
statistically, chief, you know, they have a medic assist with the officers who show up on scene, usually sometimes first.
Absolutely.
Usually statistically, that happens more during that time period during the evening and the.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
So once again, for the 2 EMTs or 3 that show up, you know, I can speak from that perspective, it's nice to have that extra person there to help out.
I mean, we're typically on scene
Right.
sometimes up to 10 minutes.
Exactly, so it says in my eyes about
prior to.
crime and things like that, it's also assisting the other public
I-
safety.
And that's the
personnel.
public safety,
Right.
the
Yeah.
I
public
can
safety aspect.
absolutely attest, there was probably, and that was 3 AM, 4 AM, something like that, when I got sick. There was no better feeling than when Mendez come in and said, Terry, it's Mendez, you'll be okay. I felt, I'm okay. So, yes, and he was there like that.
Based upon everything they do, if we can present that to the public and get that out, that all the
You don't
different
want to
hats
lose
they
that.
wear,
You know,
they should be, willing to put up that, to part with a little bit of money to help ensure that.
It's 10 grand there.
Yeah.
So I believe we probably need, if we're at that point, I'm not sure we are, but if we are, we probably need a motion to correct.
Oh,
On the two of them, you do them separate?
I
I
would,
do them separate.
okay, I would like to mention though, just that also as part of the early conversation, that we went with the income tax for the protection of the retirees versus property tax, because that would be unavoidable, but it would affect those folks. Okay, I will entertain a motion to pursue placing a 0.3% income tax initiative on the November ballot.
I would like to second
Levens,
Yes.
Beck,
Yes.
Whittick,
Yes.
Sterling,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Wheeler.
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, hang on a minute.
I
You are.
kind of researched a couple other ones that have just put on, and this will require some solicitor
Approval.
it's beyond me on writing the language up and getting to the election board and all that, just so you
That's fine.
know.
Then can we review it, or do we get to vote on
I,
rereading?
it'll
No,
come,
you-
it comes back, you have to do a resolution and an ordinance.
Okay.
So I would like
We'll get
to,
review it and see.
I just wanted to let you know I would be contacting the solicitor to get the resolution and the ordinance.
Okay.
It's not something I can just.
Do you need any approval from us officially, or just?
Technically, I
Yeah.
would, because the administrator deals with the solicitor typically,
Okay.
and I don't have a problem with her helping, but she can anyways, as a designee.
Contact solicitor. Oh, okay.
All Mark has to do is write up the verbiage, you guys look at it, tweak it, say, well, I like this, but do this, make sure this is in here, and blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
And then you bless it, and then it goes.
And then, okay, and I guess, do we know what the cutoff date is to have it on the ballot?
It has to be to the election board by August 5th.
Okay, so that would go 3 full readings, or?
Is that for their approval, or is that being approved by August 5th? There's a difference.
I think it's being approved by
Okay,
August.
so
So
they
you
have
want
to-
to.
Oh, we need to
They
get-
We'd make that.
much earlier.
Yeah, we need to get rolling,
Okay.
and we should have enough time.
Did you make that motion, Rex, to have her contact?
I guess that's what she needs.
Okay.
Put in the notes.
Yeah.
I'll second Rex's motion.
Beck,
Yes.
Whittick,
Yes?
Sperling,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Wheeler,
Yes.
Levens.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, in the listing of the ground,
I will entertain a motion to list the south property with Wedco Economic Development Group in search of a commercial or industrial buyer and developer. A portion thereof.
Decide how much.
I'll second that.
Riddick,
Yes.
Spurling,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Wheeling,
Yes.
Levens,
Yes.
Beck,
Yes.
was it Wheeling?
Yeah, you did.
Twice.
Twice. Make sure.
So we have plenty of votes.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor? Yes. Question, Beth was talking about maybe changing the verbiage of the press release, the 24-hour history coverage. Do we want to make sure it stays in there?
My personal feeling is yes, but that's,
Council?
I think it's fine to be there. That's one of the goals, and then also public safety initiatives. Public safety initiative could lend a hand
I
to
think
first
it's
responders.
our selling point. You know, that's what we want. We want to continue that.
Initiative would be actually providing safety equipment to the police, you know.
What else did you have you were saying on that, Matt? Something, you had some other verbiage you were.
she wanted it to be noted that it truly
just wanna know
was
it-
replacing what we are losing per
In the
year.
general.
Yeah, so just, want to just add that to it.
Water treatment.
This is replacing what, and leave that 24 hour.
Something to the effect that due to the cuts in
State funding.
state funding, we are seeking,
Yeah.
But you kind of said that in.
yeah, in the press
Yeah, it's
release.
there, but you might want to
Make sure it's in the verbiage on
make sure.
the ordinance and the
Yeah.
resolution.
Yeah.
Is all I'm.
That could be part of the
Yeah.
actual, on the ballot too,
Mhm.
that explanation.
Right. Absolutely.
Spell it out very clearly. It's
Okay.
That brings us to old business. Do we have anything pending that we need to address?
I have some conclusions of the old business.
Okay, super.
I don't know if everybody's getting my emails I'm sending. I'm just not really good, I guess, at group messaging. But I can group it out of my iPhone, so I group it. When I hit Bob, everybody comes up on the iPhone, including the mayor. So that works for me, and so I've been trying to keep you up to date on this. But I sent a picture home again. It is completed, and as Mike said, so just to tag in on that. And I was requested to see if we could work something out for the fire hall for internet, and that has been completed.
We appreciate that.
So,
Thank you very much for that.
That's all the old business that I'm aware of that is supposed to check into at this time.
Is that internet up and running?
I believe so. Is it not, Bob?
Is the internet running?
Okay.
Yes, it's up and running, and as I said, we really appreciate that.
Yes.
Every little bit helps in our situation.
And then the utilities, that is completed as well, right?
Yes. So what we had to do, gentlemen, was when I negotiated that contract, we got, I think it was 3 times the speed, and for a 10-year contract, and we were able to include a third one. The only cost that, to get this better speed and stuff, and inclusion for that matter, was just some hard parts that wasn't in the fire hall, and that was $320, and I approved that as a part of the contract. You're talking $32 a year for triple the speed of internet here. Even if we didn't have a fire department, that seemed an illogical way, so that's, if you see that next month, the bill just came in, that's what that was.
Officially, it helps with like your state reports for the fire calls.
Yeah, if you don't, I get emails, reminders when the state reports aren't filed, yeah. And sometimes they call on the phone and they're not real friendly.
And then it wasn't, I could be wrong, maybe my brain's going into half-timers. Wasn't there a water tap or something for the fire hall?
We've not got that far yet.
Oh,
But it's
yes.
been approved.
Yeah.
In fact, we kinda left it to the guy that, the S&S
Yeah.
board.
Right.
Yeah.
Now that the weather's starting to break,
So it's still on the table?
Cross the street.
Okay, nothing that we
Right,
can
on the street,
let
right.
slide?
No, it's not approved, we were waiting on.
He's waiting for the weather to get a little bit.
yeah.
All right, great.
I'm hopeful that we'll see some action on that in the near future.
Super.
I had one, I had
Yes, sir.
some things under other, but, we discussed it, I mean, a couple months ago maybe, as far as trying to organize a committee or something for businesses. Moving that way.
That is
I don't
true.
own that under old
Would
business.
you like to chair that?
I'll be on it, but I want to know, yeah, who's gonna join up,
Okay.
get somebody.
I would like to be considered for that.
Okay.
I don't know that she remembers, but Patty Rose Brock is technically on there,
Right.
as is Jason Tosser. But that's from
Let's
a
start.
couple of years ago, so
Yeah,
we
right.
haven't done much with it, so they may not recall that.
But Jason normally is,
Yeah.
been active.
Hmm.
Would you use those folks also as a dual role possibly in your task force?
I believe so. Yeah, I would think that that would be a,
Good.
See, because if one people get to site, they're gonna come, if somebody does come back, they're
Yeah.
gonna say, hey, do you wanna meet with the task force?
yeah. What's
All
that?
right.
I would be on that.
Call a meeting,
Yeah,
Beth said she-
you were on.
No.
Or
I are.
Either one.
I remember you volunteering.
I remember that too.
And then I think that Terry Willis from the Sheriff Terry Willis would probably be interested.
Okay, that's probably good for right now.
Well, if those are open meetings, I wouldn't mind attending, but
Sure.
I don't,
Don't
it'll be
want
if
another-
I'm available to,
Yeah,
whether to be
probably.
on the committee, I'm just.
Sure.
Well, I'll let you know. You all know when it's going to be.
Super.
Appreciate any help.
Anything else?
I'm good.
Okay. That brings us to legislation, of which we do not have any pending. And that will take us to the administrator's report.
And I will as quick as I can. We've been having a lot of water breaks. It's been so cold. And a lot of them are in driveways. Way before my time, someone had the wisdom to put pits in driveways, and we were shoveling driveways, so we've got 3 foot of frost, and our meters are breaking. Of course, we actually thaw those and repair them, so. And there's just been people that, in their basement's been freezing, and we had one in the trailer park that, park there that, Kurt Mock owned. And it was his water leak, you know, it was underneath the trailer, it was spraying as high as the ceiling, you know, coming out. What do? The police officer's there, he calls me on the weekend. We can't get a hold of the person that would normally shut it off, so I had Mike Rodenheaver come in because we know what needs to be done, no one else would. And he literally crawled through about yay much water in 5+ below zero weather, underneath the center of the trailer. They had to take out 2 sets of skirting and reach his hand underwater up to his armpit, and finally got it shut off. And I immediately called Kurt and I said, hey, this is what we've done. We've trespassed, but, you know, and of course he thanked us, and I said, and you know, it's not our deal, and I'd like to bill you for that if you don't mind. And he said, please, you know, thanks for doing it. And I did ask for a backup number if we could get a hold of that man, because they'll call Central, and then Steve's people will be involved, and, you know, they're not always certain. So, for whatever reason, there's been quite a few. I could go on and waste a lot of time, but
I
It's
would
been really
think
cold.
that the 1 degree average in February temperature might have something to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely, it is, I mean, we've got potholes that are popping up all over and then full of water now. There's a catch basin in the post office parking lot, I don't know if you noticed it, it's heaved, it's been there forever, it's always been kind of funky, but we plan on actually prefabbing our own and having actually Jason help us with this to grade and then build it up. So if you see that weird looking thing, that's what's going on there. And we have a small duck pond that we use at Boring Company, and I had to run in actually just a small lot drain, we were able to find a cap for it, and it did fine. But I think it's frozen full of water, because I looked into it today, and it's still not draining anything, and I poked around best I could in the mud, and so we're gonna try tomorrow to run an auger in from the other way, see if we can poke a hole in and get that drained, but again, we wouldn't normally have that problem. We've been having some problems with the school tower, and I fear that it is because of the weather again. We're getting, and I've got several pictures of it, and every weekend that I've been in there, it gives a errant code like that says that we've got a problem with our tower elevation. And when you go out there, the thing's bouncing back and forth, the pressure on the gauge, and you read the pressure 2.31, you know, times, and then that gives you the feet. But I go out to the plant, and those plant pressures show good, so I don't know if there's a piece of ice over where it comes out when people are drawing water that's constricting it, and even though I know that 1 inch column is equal to 6 inch, something's going on. I'm gonna wait. It's not affecting our water usage, and we're running off the Faro Tower. I would never run off the school right now, but we're good to go, so I'm gonna take a wait and see. I do know that standpipes have frozen in the past, never here though, because we have a quick turnover of water. Water's 54 degrees coming out of our ground, and that helps keep it opened up, and we've kept where we change out every 2 feet in the towers for fire protection, so we have a constant turnover. But it's a problem that, I mean, I went out and did the stubber valve, it's a little bleeder valve, and everything that I can think of. Wes went out and unplugged stuff, and it's still acting up. So we'll wait till it warms up a little bit, and then we'll address that. I finally finished with the state electronic plans with Omar. I can't even begin to pronounce his last name with the state, but he's gonna be doing our bridge inspections. I think I mentioned that a while back. That's a done deal now. He has them in hand. I plan on getting some Mylar or something similar drawings for our cemetery. I think Fred said he spilled some coffee on one of his, and we have one coffee left, so I'm gonna run up to Carmen, see if she can help us. If not, I have another source to do that. I spoke with Matt on our tax incentive review board. Dan, I think you listened in on that when I was talking with Gary Baker. Well, I know it should be coming up pretty soon, sometime in March and April. So I asked Matt what the status was, if he had checked it all on it, and he said, yeah, he did, and he's actually scheduled it for the 24th of March. And of course, I told him I was going to be gone that day. I'm leaving the 20th to take some continuing ed credits. So he said that we didn't have anything anyways, but we do. And so he said, well, I couldn't find it. So I went ahead and Peggy scanned these for me, and I don't know if anyone really needs to go, but it's the 24th. We're not even we don't have a time because he didn't put us in because he didn't think we had. See, he's looking at enterprise zones only, and this is a tax incentive, so it also includes CRA, which is community reinvestment. There's one company, won't give names, but they have one more year. And this particular company, we gave them a tax abatement. We're gonna get next year tax on that, but it was for $183,300. And with that, they had agreed to produce 8 new jobs. Well, a few years back, in another council, they had lost 4 instead of 8, and so what they asked you is, what do you want to do as a body? So I took it to the council, and I didn't think we should do anything. An example of when you do something would be, remember Arrow True Line? Okay, they got a tax abatement too. They pulled out. We made them pay all of that tax. I mean, we can do that as it is. In this case, there's only one more year. I didn't even ask Peg if they're up to quota or not for that particular company. And then the only other one is, it's called Drew Fund, but what it is, and Peg says that they are paying tax, they are taxpayers. I know they have one employee. It's it's the car wash. He came in and wanted to know if there's anything Stryker could do. Wanted to put a car wash in, and he wanted a break on the water. Well, we don't give breaks according to the ordinance, and if we did, we, especially if Farrell was our large user. But he had other car washes, and so I asked him if he had an estimate and so on. And long story short, we crunched the numbers and the math, and he could actually save money if the village gave him a tax incentive credit, and that's for 10 years. And we did that in 2010. So if somebody else wants to go, what you do is you'll sit there and we used to have more, but they're all coming off, and which helps in the taxes, but it gets them started. And they just want to know if they're in compliance, and if they're not, what do you want to do about it, if anything. And it's literally that long. You sit with Deb Nestor, a commissioner, and used to be a representative of the school, but a while back the school decided that they didn't want to approve the community reinvestment, but what they found out is if they did approve it, they'd actually get more money than if they didn't. So we got a letter from the board that said that from now on, and I haven't seen a superintendent or anybody representing the school for many years now. So I have these two. If somebody wants to do it, I could probably do it on the phone. It would just bring it
Where's
to your
that held
attention.
at? Will it be at Whitco or will it be at the courthouse?
I'm not sure where they'll put it. It used to be in the conference room at the old Whitco. We'd meet in there.
Okay.
Because it is tax incentive, even though it's, Nestor will be there and a commissioner.
It's a Tuesday, I can represent the village.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally a 5-minute deal, Dan.
Phone call would be better.
Yeah.
But I can represent.
I
the
think
village.
they actually schedule us in 15-minute increments.
Okay.
And that's even for a big city like Bryan, because you're gonna already have this, and I will have Peggy pull for you, but I don't think, when you see the I don't think you probably elect not to. If it's something drastic you do, you need to talk to him. I knew this was coming up, we had talked about it with Baker, but, so that's where we're at. So I had Peg scan these and send it to him, what it is, so I'll give you these, so
Okay.
you're up to speed, and Matt has a copy, and he's
Thank
gonna
you.
get with me when he can figure out what's going on, because he shows nothing. So that's what that is. I did check with Stryker Welding too, and brought Matt up to speed on that. Whiteco, back when I was president of Whiteco, back in 2005 or something, we had I don't want to say a bad reputation, but a reputation of not being able to do a lot of things for a lot of folks. And so one of the things that the Stryker Council passed, and other villages, I believe, fell suit, a few of them did anyways, is to let the Whiteco department be the coordinator of CRA, community reinvestment. Jason built a new building, and so he's in on that, and I wanted to make sure that he gets his CRA, first of all, because he's putting on new jobs and stuff, and it has to be after, but I don't know if it gets on the text cards if you can do it, so I want to make sure, Matt's on that, and he understood that, so we talked about it, and then I did go over and talk to Jason, so I think we're good to go there. Again, it won't be for that day, that you'll be scheduled on the 24th, that's just a little sidebar. I think you folks got the letter from the attorney, and I tried to send out that mass email again on the iPhone, targeted to my computer, and I got a few responses back that they were pleased with that result. And the last thing that it's not a zoning issue, it's not really anything, but the village owns a piece of property right next to where the Ohio Gas owns, and butts up into Souls and another parcel. And they surveyed it, and Jeannie Elman called, and no parcels can be transferred unless they're approved by, at this time, the village administrator, according to the county engineer. I think more for background purposes than anything, of my background, but this one actually popped back into the village of Stryker. We own this ground, and it separates a farmer, and he's trying to do a trustee. So I spoke to I actually spoke to the farmer's son, and, because he went up to see Jeannie, and Jeannie says, hey, we're not doing nothing, you know, it's up to the surveyor and this and that, and try to get it fixed. There you go, there's some ground you can sell, but it's less than an acre, it's just kind of a screwy thing. I don't know why it's there, and of course, I wouldn't sign off on it until I know the purpose of it, just in case there's some weird easement or went down to the end of the creek, there's no pipe or anything. I don't know why we would have ever owned it, really, but it's definitely platted out. So I plan on going up into the courthouse and going through the old handwritten and see if I can find what's there or why it's there. And then hopefully the surveyor can do the same, but, you know, just like this property here, we found it, and here, we don't even own it, you know. Or actually, we do own it, we shouldn't own it, it's across the bridge, so. That's kind of the bullets. Any questions?
No, but I had, somebody asked me, and I know it's not the time of year to do this, but at the end of Road Street, there was a hole or something we were going to repair. We were waiting for it to settle.
Well, that's probably the
Stone.
stone filled
Yeah,
intersection.
Okay,
Yeah.
but we still know about that, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Weather permits.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make sure it's on the bulletin board, but I'm almost positive it's still on there.
All right. Other than that, nothing.
What were the cemetery drawings needed for? I missed that.
Fred spilled coffee on his.
Oh.
They're old,
Okay.
I mean, geez, they're yellow, you know.
There's a drawing.
Okay.
We can get
It's
them
not a
this.
plot for,
We can get
I
them
have
plastic,
plot,
like, you know.
I have plot maps here, and he has ones that he keeps, same thing, but his are, mine are kinda looking pretty bad too,
Okay.
so.
We can get them scanned, or I think we can, I think for next to nothing, if not nothing. And if not, like I said, I have an alternative source, but I told Fred I'd give him something that's durable. We made all our maps, in fact, we give one to the fire department
because it used to end up
of, you got Mylar too, didn't you?
south.
Bob, on those maps, we redid your maps and give you Mylar.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing for Fred.
Okay.
Yeah.
Off there is where the bridge was used.
Alrighty, any questions?
I'm sorry.
All right, thank you. That brings us to Chief Slosher.
All right. Well, good evening, gentlemen. You will obviously notice I have a new officer with us, as briefed in your council packet, Chantel Casares. Comes to us from Defiance, was with Defiance PD for a little while, and took a little bit of time off to concentrate on her family. And she does need the 16-hour refresher course. She's been out for a little over a year now, so once we get her enrolled in that in July, we're going to get her going. In the meantime, I think our plans are, we've already done the swear-in or anything, so it's way too late for you guys to have a vote. So, no, we did the swear-in last week so we could get the paperwork down to Opata and get the ball rolling so she could get enrolled in the refresher course.
Now, are you going to tell them why we rescinded the fact that they could vote
I can't remember.
her college allegiance?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
We didn't want that to
Yeah,
affect.
well, with a team that remains to be said in this room.
She's a Michigan fan?
Yes.
I wouldn't say that.
You'd have got one vote.
I won't root too loud.
But yeah, but my intention is to get her actually in here as soon as we can and just do her FTO while she's a reserve officer. And then, and plus you've got some credits that she needs to get going for her,
The college course as
yeah,
well.
what are they, your internship or whatever it is, so. So yeah, we're gonna get her going on her FTO right away. So by that time, when, July rolls around, she gets her required work done and we can put her right out on the road. So I'll just let you kind of tell these gentlemen a little bit about yourself and
Like you stated, my name is Chantal Casares. I am from Defiance. I am working towards my criminal justice degree. I have 1 semester left, so I am also doing my internship for my criminal justice practicum. So another 120 hours I'm looking forward to with these fine fellows. So if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them for you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Is that school color green or blue?
Do you happen to be an instructor out at Fort County? Yep. I thought your name sounded familiar. I used to go out there, Mr. Miller and Miss Fisher were my instructors for public safety, so it's been a little while.
Don't hold that against the rest of us.
But yeah, we're looking forward to her being with us and
Good.
getting her out on there. And believe me, she's gonna hold her own, a sister of 4
Four
brothers, so right in the middle.
I'm second to last.
Okay,
And
so
they're
you'll be
all
all right,
taller
so.
than me, and they show no mercy, so. I grew up in a rough household, and I'm happy about it.
So, but yeah, good to go.
Good.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The only really thing I have to add to the initial statement was we did lose John Cooper. He accepted a position with the Henry County Sheriff's Office. He actually left us. I kept his commission with us as a reserve officer because, quite frankly, John enjoyed being here. He went to Hicksville as a full-time officer. But with his new commission with the Henry County Sheriff's Office, just like any other sheriff's office, they want that commission exclusively with them. They don't allow them to work part-time or even being a reserve officer for any other department. So good on John. I'm very proud of him, and he did great work while he was here. But unfortunately for us, he's got to go. And but good for him. He got the job that he wanted. So he's been trying to get on with Henry County for about, probably a good 7 or 8 years. And so he finally got his opportunity. So I think it's fantastic. As far as reports go, 65 complaints from our last meeting. And contrary to my typing, those are not vehicle accidents. Those are vehicle accidents.
Look right at me. That's the way I type.
I thought maybe the E and the N were really close together, but they're not.
When you count on that, when you count on those things, when you count on those things, it automatically changes.
Yeah. Yes, I didn't even notice it until I was.
Microsoft.
You're gonna have typos, you got the right group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and, as far as traffic goes, 25 traffic warnings, 2 citations, and those were a result of the accidents. And we had 6 arrests since our last meeting. So nothing really. If you have any questions, there's really nothing pressing within the report that I need to address.
This is good, but I don't have anything, but I do have a question. Somebody asked me, was, when they're walking, they're noticing a lot of dog issues on the sidewalks. Is there, make public notice that they should clean up, and I know people are people, but.
If we know who's doing it, we can absolutely address it.
They carry my puppy baggies.
Right, and I know most people do, but apparently there's some that aren't.
Well, Bob and I had a conversation this morning, and, the key is to contact us when that stuff is going on. And, we can't, we can address it, and we have addressed those types of, even ordinance, the snow removal and things of that nature. I sent out, this one or not. It should be 15-0089. the ordinance violation. I think I had six property owners that I sent, didn't send certified mail, but whether it was in person or if they did not live within the village, I just sent it, regular mail. But I did get correspondence back with those that I did send by mail, everybody that lived within the village, because you did have rental properties and things like that, rather than spending, $5 or $6 on certified mail, I just mailed them out directly, and I still got good response, so. Unfortunately, we kind of caught it a little bit too late, the snow was already packed down from the pedestrian traffic, and it was kind of difficult to get it cleared off. But, long story short is they're aware of it, and I just told them there's gonna be no tolerance, with the, even if we have any more, so. But yeah, and going back to the dogs, we need to know as soon as we can. If you see somebody walking their dog and they let loose and they don't take care of it, then please call us. That's what we need to know.
That's basically what I told him, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Okay.
Would you advise asking them to clean it up from us, or would you advise that?
Would I tell the dog owner?
No, would you advise me to tell that person?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And again, the conversation with Bob this morning, a lot of it, it goes a long ways, for a neighbor, another property owner to step outside and say, hey, excuse me, either A, your dog's on my property, or it's defecating on my sidewalk. Could you remove it, please? And, I think 9 times out of 10, you're probably gonna get a positive response. If somebody knows kind of, they're compromised,
Right.
usually they're not gonna give you a whole lot of attitude. They're gonna be embarrassed,
At that point, so we can call Steve.
right?
Or the department.
And again, as a good citizen, you've done your due diligence by addressing it.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good job.
The other, which you had mentioned you have some of
That's
those?
what I had.
Oh, that was
Took
what
care
you
of
had.
that. That's what
All right. Any other?
Did fiscal officer have any?
I do. I have another.
Okay.
Another one.
I have I applied for a scholarship, or I'd like to apply for a scholarship for treasurer's training. It is at Kalahari in Sandusky on June 11th and 12th. But I will be in class all day. It is assigned to get credit each class, but yes. It's an opportunity for me to get 10 CPIM credits for treasurer's license. And the scholarship would cover the cost of the class, which is, let's see, I think it's $285. And I would be going with another clerk if I get the scholarship and sharing a room, so the cost would be like $119 for the room. But I need a letter of support to turn in with the scholarship.
Are you going swimming?
No, I do not.
You're gonna get 2 free passes.
Me and
You're gonna
Amanda-
get 2 free
I
passes
get-
every day.
No, I get 4. Honestly, per room, you get 4 passes.
It's only Sandusky, I can probably.
I will say my kids might come down for the day. I'm not a big fan of the
Please
swim and
enjoy it.
suit swimming
Yes,
thing.
Right?
Yeah.
We'll support you there.
So this is my letter to
You need a
turn.
resolution.
I just need a
just need
signature on that.
It's down here, copy.
The application's behind it if you want to look at that.
I trust it. So it's just, yeah.
All right. I have one thing, discussed it with Administrator St. John, Officer Rediger. Mr. Souls contacted me, referenced an individual that moved out of one of his apartments, and apparently after the water was shut off, turned the water back on, and then he received a bill for those charges, which is the way our ordinance reads. So I don't know if you would like to shed any light on it, or you as well. We have had this come up in the past where the landowners are responsible for that bill. But I did also want to bring it to your attention, so if you were contacted, you know what we're talking about and why we might go in the direction that we're going. So, do you want to add anything?
Unfortunately, it was a case of there was no usage there for a long time, and in a non-payment, we wanted to shut it off. It was then noticed there was usage, and we were told the person was on vacation,
Yep.
initially. And then we billed the owner thinking maybe somebody new was put there, and we didn't know, because we're not always notified when new people were put in and out. And once we billed, the owner contacted and said, it's not mine, it was supposed to be still the same person. And I'm like, well, let's shut off. And we did send the guys out and put a tag on it. Apparently, I mean, the ordinance reads it is the landowner's responsibility. After that 100, we did take the deposit, there's still a balance.
And that's what was billed to the landowner, was the balance, not the whole amount.
Yeah, after the deposit. It is relatively high, but there was a lot of usage after it was tagged, or after it was supposedly shut off, so.
How were they able to get access, like, shut off from the village, how did they get access to it?
Well, this is in the basement in
This-
this one.
this-
There's 4 this month that has pegged a pole. This is real common, and she had another one laying on her desk which had 4 on it. It's a 3 to 4 average. It's went before council, it's had to went before Bob and Rex. I know it's went before Dan and his tenure here, I don't know in which capacity, I think it's chief. But the landowners are stuck with the bills. I mean, and we've taken it to attorneys, we said, what do we do, is this legal? And we had opinions, they didn't think it was. And the bottom line was, in fact, one of the, I believe, even the owner in question in this one, had said, maybe we need to up the deposit. Well, it was the council's opinion numerous times that they would rather not, because they didn't want to discourage people coming in, and it was up to the owner to either screen their tenants a little more carefully. I guarantee there's some in here that have never been shut off or tampered, because they screen. Others, we have one that's $287 and pays quite often. I won't say who, but it's the rental type. It goes with the business. I mean, it is what it is. The council has always said, no, we don't want, we'll make it 100 because that's an average bill, so they have 1 month. If they don't pay it, the thing about this scenario is, it's only given to the $100 deposit is only for a renter. If Bob's a landowner, we can tax his property if he doesn't pay. We can't the renter. So therefore, the $100 as a security deposit in our own ordinance to help them out. But in the past, at least, the council didn't want to make it so much that it discouraged people to come in. They laid the burden both ways. And so that's what's been in the last 20 years. But I will say, as far as tagging out, I did talk to Alan today, and he's been here 15 years, and he's the one that's a tag lockout. He's done it 3 times, and one of them is the one in question, so only 2 other in the 15 years. And I've done it once, that I can recall. And so,
I think that's what's unique to
yeah,
it,
people
is
don't
somebody
tamper.
tampered
Once you
with
shut it off,
Right.
Now, I did order some tags very early on. After speaking with an attorney, he said, hey, if someone does tamper with it and lock out, you know, and we don't know who did it, would this help? He said, well, it can. It's tampering, you know, but until you can prove who did it, it still could be your landlord, or it could be the owner, you know, or the tenant, so it's a civil matter, bottom line.
I think by
Yeah,
being-
it's up to them to go back to the.
Yeah, it's a civil
renter.
I'd say that if he feels strongly that somebody else owes that money, he's obligated to pay it, that he can civilly go after.
Go after the renter or whatever.
And my understanding, we do everything after talking with Peggy and Beth, and I recall from our other Beth. I mean, if they're in town, they try to do everything they can, and when they feel that it's not happening, then they bill the balance of it. And there's been people, but today, I believe Peg told me that someone came in, the water had been shut off for a month, and the lady came in and paid. No usage, nothing, it's amazing, and when you get to that point, and if you think people are living in there, you wonder, how are they living without water? I mean, I can't go without a council meeting without a water, so, but, you know, I don't know if they're buying it or what, for whatever reasons, but people who actually do that, they'll come back in and they'll be reinstated and not a problem. And we shut off, literally, we shut off hundreds of situations like that.
I would probably also suggest, in cases where we do actually put a tag out on it, maybe have the police department assist as a witness and do a documentation report, just to back up the fact that, hey, this was done on this date, and that way,
A little more teeth for the
a
owner.
little more teeth.
Steve, didn't
Why
we talk
don't we
about that?
file charges on them for
Well,
tampering with utilities?
I don't think anybody has brought that, until this, I don't think anybody brought that to our attention. that,
I mean, is
Uh,
this the
honest-
first time it's ever happened?
Honestly, with this person that the landowner thinks tampered with it was in jail right after the tampering. So I mean, what I guess my thinking was, what am I gonna? How am I gonna go after him? He's already there.
I would kind of like to see that, simply because I think we need to
I mean-
determine, as a village, if somebody's messing with our equipment.
I mean,
Is there?
Yes, absolutely.
If they're tampering with our equipment,
Yes,
yeah.
electric, I think.
So-
And we have a tampering with the hydrants. We have
Right.
Rules on
Right.
that.
All that.
in our ordinance.
Well, that should be ORC,
For water.
tampering with
And it could be,
utilities.
didn't you and I speak briefly when Alan went down to put a tag in there? I think you were standing right there. You recall it?
Like within the last week
That we
or
were
so?
gonna, no, this is back in
This is
summer.
back in like
July or
July.
something.
Oh, we put it
Yeah,
on in
it's been
July.
yeah.
It's been a long,
It's been a long.
yeah, it's a, you know,
It's
but yeah, I think you made the same statement, Steve. The deal was,
Oh, I remember,
okay.
yeah.
And at that time, the attorney was like, well, what do you know, yeah, someone's tampered with our meter that we shut off, but ultimately,
You have to be able to prove it.
yeah, so
Yeah.
how do you go,
Sure.
you know,
But an interview may do that.
it could.
I've seen that.
I'm
I don't know,
sorry. That's
I
why
would just say the property owner. I mean, you,
Yeah, it's a civil matter, it really is on that.
yeah.
That's the only other that I had. If no one else has anything. Well, I see an almost.
I don't know if this really needs to be, this could probably, well, okay. At the chief's meeting, I talked to the EMA director, and he said that Toledo Edison never contacted him about the electric outage that occurred in the village a few months ago, that Mr. Hughes, yes. So I just thought maybe we need to do a follow-up with them through proper channels, just to say that apparently that may be their procedure as he understood it when he
Mhm.
told us that's what's supposed to happen, but
Maybe
on
it didn't
the other
occur quite
side,
that
the
way.
EMA said, we don't know anything about it, or we certainly could have initiated some sheltering facilities. But they did say that what they've discovered in similar situations is as soon as you establish a place, everybody decides that they can stay with their friends, neighbors, and relatives, rather than actually
Yeah.
go 10. But at least they do seek shelter, you've made an attempt, you've
Right.
I
right.
just have it up there.
At least, right, at least our
Be
offer was
courteous,
there.
my gosh, come on.
Yeah, so, yeah, I don't,
Yeah, my
I
mom
don't want to
keep
imply
going.
that we were misled. I'm sure that he felt, as he understands it, that's what their policy is.
Right.
Maybe somebody dropped the ball somewhere.
Yeah.
Would you want me to just touch base with him?
His quote was, he
Same
did
polite
say-
way of saying it, you know?
He said,
It just came up randomly and FYI.
Yeah, if you would.
I don't, I
It was
don't,
on the short list next time. We can play the tape back and listen to his wording.
No, I don't-
that's not
yeah.
necessary. We don't need, but we're kind of stuck in a he said, she said deal.
Right.
He told us one thing, EMA said something slightly different.
Get it corrected now.
Um, Yeah, that's, I'll save some of this stuff for next month.
Wouldn't want that meeting
Don't
to
let it
go too
fester.
quickly.
For next month?
Oh, yeah.
You do, committee meeting for next month?
I think we're good, aren't we?
We're good?
We're good.
We're good?
Okay.
We had excitement there.
You had an open
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah,
Jim.
So we can always call a special meeting if we get some feedback from
Sure.
our press release.
Sure.
Or just because you all want to get together.
It's gonna be odd not to.
We could do
Just
that.
one person last week.
Bring pizza.
The devil's advocate.
That's right.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
There we go.
Do it. See you April 13th.